7-Day Outlook.
And welcome to Weather Geeks. I'm Dr. Marshall Shepard from the University of Georgia, and I have with me today Dr. Judah Cohen, who is the Director of Seasonal Forecasting at a company in the Northeast called AER. And you have become, I'm going to just put it right out there, you've been covered in the Capital Weather Gang recently. You've become quite famous for your winter seasonal forecast. And you do it a little bit differently than others who, many people when we talk about seasonal forecasting look at El Nino, but you don't do that. Tell us a little bit about your methodology.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming.
It was very flattering what you said, but, you know, like sports team, you're as good as your last forecast.
That's
I
true.
hope you didn't jinx me here.
Right. Well, you know, people do your homework on Dr. Cohen. He's pretty good at what he does.
Well,
tell us about how you look at Siberian snow and link that to what's going to happen here in the U.S. in terms of winter?
Yeah, you know, first of all, seasonal forecasting, when I got into this business, was one trick pony, and to a large extent still is. It's about ENSO.
Sure.
This year we have a very large El Nino, and everybody's using that and making their seasonal forecast. And I've always been interested in snow. I'm a big snow lover, and I figured, hey, how could I bring that into my research? So I looked at maybe how snow can impact the weather, not just looking at the oceans, but how's maybe the continents. And we found the relationship that when snow cover is extensive across Siberia in the fall, we tend to have colder winters. And the link is through the Arctic Oscillation you mentioned. So
okay, well, let's before we go any further there, explain to our audience what the Arctic Oscillation is.
So I think I like to say they are the best explanation of the Arctic Oscillation. It's a measure of how well the atmosphere is mixing. Okay. So when the Arctic Oscillation is positive, there's very little mixing going on in the atmosphere. So the cold air stays in the cold regions up in the Arctic, and the warm air stays in the lower latitudes in the warm air.
Tropics. So vacationing in the tropics.
So like, you know, so when you have this positive AO winter, and there's very little mixing, it tends to stay mild across the United States.
Right.
Now, when there's a lot of mixing going on in the atmosphere, that's a negative AO. And so the fact that it's a negative territory, and the more negative, the more mixing that's going on. So now cold air isn't, the air masses aren't confined to their normal regions, but they're kind of going on these excursions, and they're moving around. So they're on the move. So now the Arctic air is no longer penned up or fenced up in the Arctic. It's coming down to lower latitudes, and warm air from the tropics will surge northward. And then the weather guy will say, hey, look, it's colder in Atlanta than it is in Fairbanks, Alaska, or Anchorage, like that. So that's going on. That usually means there's a lot of mixing going on. The Arctic Oscillation is negative. And we found this relationship when you have a lot of snow cover. In the fall, that's a good predictor, at least, that there's going to be a lot of mixing going on. The air masses are going to be on the move, a lot of mixing going on.
Yeah, no, I remember reading much of your work, and I actually had a colleague, Tom Moda at Georgia, that has done some work in this area as well. It's really interesting work. Now, so let's just make sure people understand what's going on. So you're looking at the snow cover in Siberia, halfway around the globe, and that's telling you some things about this Arctic Oscillation and what phase, whether positive and negative, and then you can say some things about what's going to happen in terms of our winter, at least we think. Now, how does that couple with the El Nino? So do they work together?
One point you brought up, so a lot of skepticism, to this theory is that, well, how's Siberia going to tell us about the weather here in Atlanta? Actually, Atlanta has a very strong relationship with Siberian snow cover, or even other places in the East Coast, including, up to New York City and then Boston. But when it drives, it kind of, the snow cover interacts with you kind of asked me about El Nino, so let me get back to that.
Yeah, I want to just understand how the two mix together. I mean, clearly there's a signal because you're quite good at this.
And I do want to say, I think this is, we as scientists, we try to do experiments, and I think the nature is really doing us a big favor this winter, and they're giving this, I think, a very well-designed experiment. We don't really understand how the Siberian snow cover and El Nino couple that well, or the Arctic Oscillation El Nino. I think we really don't understand that well.
So we've got a nice laboratory.
So we got a great laboratory experiment. El Nino, it's a very strong El Nino, and I mean, I would have liked a higher number. It's October is the key month, so we know the number. I know the number. Anybody who wants to look it up can know the number. But it's high. It's above normal, but it's not record territory like El Nino is. So it's not. But it's close. And also another part of the equation is sea ice. I think sea ice is also working together with the snow cover. We're trying to understand how they couple together. So I think this is a great experiment. You have low sea ice, you have high snow cover. That gives you this negative, should at least kind of push, you know, the frequency, you know, more towards the negative, or the bias towards negative Arctic oscillation. And then you have this positive El Nino. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I'm very excited to see what happens this winter, you know.
Now, speaking of sort of connection, because I think one of the things you're suggesting here, and we as meteorologists know this, that our atmospheric system has many forcing and connectivities and processes at play. Polar vortex is one of them. Yeah, that's the word. We just used it, but we're using it in its proper context on Weather Geeks. Talk about the polar vortex and this notion of a weaker polar vortex, perhaps leading to more cold air excursions into the United States.
Right.
Talk a little about that.
I mean, again, I sound like maybe an ADD here, but I feel like I didn't finish that thing with how they're going to interact. And I think I just give a couple examples of where we did have a positive ENSO or El Nino, and high snow cover was 2009-10 and 2002-3.
Right.
I think those kind of can set up like analogs or paradigms for what might happen this upcoming winter. So now bring in the polar vortex. This has to do with the mixing. I know you had this animation, but the polar vortex lives on cold air.
Sure.
So the sun sets, you know, in the wintertime over the pole, you know, when you get into the wintertime, in the fall and winter. And so there's no sun, so the air over the pole, and this is way up in the atmosphere. The polar vortex, I think in its truest sense, exists in the stratosphere. And you have it up there on the, so
you got about 30 seconds, by the way.
Okay, so it's cold air, and again, I don't know if we could talk about more, but when you have a lot of snow cover, it increases the waviness in the atmosphere, and that sends a lot of energy into the polar vortex. It's like, you know, it's like daytime to Dracula, right? I mean, the vortex lives off cold air, and now you send all this warmth into there, and it breaks down, but the cold air has to go somewhere. It was created by the polar vortex, and it spills out into, you know, regions like where we are.
Right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back, but when we come back after the break, we're going to take a look at what we learned from last year's record winter here in the United States. Judah nailed it, and we'll talk about why he did. But next, our Geek of the Week.
Andy Nash, meteorologist in charge of the Burlington, Vermont local forecast office of the National Weather Service, is this week's Geek of the Week. He may live up north, but his favorite type of weather is summer thunderstorms, especially those found in Florida, where he was once a forecaster. In fact, one of his most memorable weather events was the February '98 deadly tornado outbreak in Central Florida. He was also a forecaster in Hawaii, and so I guess, right, makes sense. His favorite weather term is Kona storm. How about that? Congratulations to Andy Nash, our Geek of the Week.
I take Prilosec OTC each morning for my frequent heartburn, because you can't beat zero heartburn. The sweet taste of victory.
Prilosec OTC, 1 pill each morning, 24 hours, zero heartburn.
All we need to sell Strongbow Hard Cider is ice. Oh, and an award for best tasting hard cider. You're in our shot.
No, I'm not.
Strongbow.
Can a protein originally found in a jellyfish improve your memory? Our scientists say yes. Researchers have discovered a protein that actually supports healthier brain function. It's the breakthrough in a supplement called Prevagen. As we age, we lose proteins that support our brain. Prevagen supplements these proteins and has been clinically shown to improve memory. It's safe and effective. For support of healthier brain function, a sharper mind, and clearer thinking, try Prevagen for yourself today.
Mondays on the Weather Channel. When nature is this dangerous, only one question matters.
Oh my God!
So you think you'd survive? All new Mondays at 10, only on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 72 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, variable clouds with showers and scattered thunderstorms. High 77. Chance of rain 60%. Tonight, partly cloudy. Slight chance of a rain shower. Low 64. Monday, mostly sunny skies. High 74. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We're geeking out on what's happening in weather, how it happens, and why it's so freaking cool.
Weather Underground, weeknights at 6 on the Weather Channel.
Andrew, Rita, Sandy. Meet Chris, Jackie, Joe. Minor damage or major disaster. When you need us most, we're there. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
In a work world, take time for Sunday. Just know that your truck has a little thing for Monday.
Make the cash call and ask for the do-over refi. If you refinanced your mortgage in the last 18 months, we can redo it at a lower rate, like today's 2.99% rate and APR with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH.
And we're back on Weather Geeks with Dr. Judah Cohen of AER. And I want to get into what he's best at now, because you were really good at the seasonal forecasting. I want to look at how you did last year. We know that winter was a pretty significant winter, particularly in places like the Northeast and Boston. Now, what we have in our background here is your forecast, and then we're comparing that to what actually happened, and you nailed it.
Well, thank you.
You nailed it.
It was a great. I mean, it was a great accomplishment. I feel like I was very proud of.
Now, was it luck though, or is there skill there? I mean,
a lot of people say it is luck. I mean, I think it was skill. It's not the first time we've gotten
it's
not the first time we got the forecast right.
Sure.
We've gotten the 4 out of the past 5 winters right.
Sure.
I think that's. I think we're pretty.
So we have the graphic up here.
Yeah.
So on the right is the forecast, and on the left is actually what happened for those geeks that are viewing this. So on the right there is actually what Judah and his colleagues were actually forecasting to happen. And take a look at how that compares on the left to what actually did happen. Talk about this.
Yeah, so last October we had, again, we look at the snow cover, and it was the second highest in record. It was a really big number.
Yeah.
So I was feeling, this was time for snow cover, or the use of snow cover in seasonal forecasting, kind of put up or shut up.
Yeah.
And so we got out early saying there's a big number, this could really be a tough winter. Like we saw.
So did you see record-breaking winters when you were forecasting? Did you see that level of?
I thought that we get a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And I talked about it, in the Capital Weather Gang and the local station, and the Boston Globe did a very nice piece on me. How I really thought, I was very confident, and though for half the winter it wasn't looking so good.
Yeah.
Won't mention that, but I was very confident we get a lot of snow, because actually there's a pretty good relationship, surprisingly so, between Siberia's snow cover extent and snowfall in northeastern cities. And actually I did a piece in the Washington Post about getting more extreme snowfalls. So I was feeling confident that we would have, with a lot of snow, we tend to get this weaker polar vortex, and we get this kind of perturbation. We had in January, the vortex was very, very weak in the stratosphere. And then once that vortex kind of really broke down, or got really disturbed, and it really warmed up with the polar, that's when all the crazy weather, happened, and when it turned really super cold, and we got the record snowstorms.
I want to talk about, now there would be what would you say to those that say you got the forecast right, but for the wrong reasons? How do you respond to that?
Well, first I said I'd rather get it right for the wrong reasons than wrong for the right reasons.
Right. So why do people say that though?
And I try to explain, I don't know why people, and no one's come to me to my face and said it. And I don't even know I know it's been said about it, but I don't even know who it is.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't even know what the reasons they give. It's very hard to make seasonal forecasts, to get it right. I mean, no one else seems to be, or I think we're doing it much better than anybody else. So it's not an easy thing to do. And it's not the first forecast, we got right. I don't mean to sound defensive.
No, the reason we have you on the show is we know you're good at what you want to.
And if you look, I have these graphics that show that if you just base these forecasts, these different diagnostics using snow cover, what happened last winter very nicely matches up. So, now, it wasn't perfect. There were things that didn't happen. I mean, I think one thing people say is that the AO wasn't negative, you know, and
right.
certainly
and I think that's mainly what the criticism has been for those who do.
Yeah. So, but I things come in different flavors. El Nino, even El Nino comes in different flavors, and you know.
Let me stop you there because I want to get this in quickly. We got about 20 seconds to answer this. Who are some of your clients? The kind of clientele that you deal with?
So we have financial clients and energy companies.
Yeah.
So they're mostly interested in if let's say Siberian snow cover comes in, big number, and we think it's going to be a cold winter, and we tell them that, then they can, kind of invest, go bullish on energy.
Okay, and so when we get back, his clients are going to be interested in what his thoughts are on the next forecast for the winter coming up. We'll talk about that on Weather Geeks after the break.
The cold truth is, if a cold keeps you up at night, you can't just catch up on sleep the next day. New Alka-Seltzer Plus Night Cold and Cough Liquid relieves tough cold symptoms and quiets coughs for up to 8 hours to help you sleep at night. New Alka-Seltzer Plus Night Liquid.
Brought to you by Alka-Seltzer Plus Cold and Cough.
These hands are made to work, so I can't waste time with stripped and rusted fasteners. That's why I love the Craftsman Extreme Grip line. Screwdrivers with diamond-coated tips deliver 4 times more grip than standard ones. And sockets that fit snug on rounded bolts for 14 times more gripping power to keep me moving. Craftsman hand tools are protected by a lifetime full warranty. This holiday, put Craftsman at the top of your wish list.
When you're living with diabetes, steady is exciting. Only Glucerna has Carb Steady, clinically proven to help minimize blood sugar spikes, so you stay steady ahead.
All we need to sell Strongbow Hard Cider is ice. Oh, and an award for best tasting hard cider. You're in our shot.
No, I'm not.
Strongbow!
This Beneful is so good and healthy. Hey, you know what? We should just go ahead and have this for breakfast tomorrow. Would that be crazy?
Beneful Originals is a healthy blend your dog will love with whole grains, real beef, and accents of vegetables.
If I want to go up,
hello.
If I want to go down, but then if I want to come back again, it's perfect.
And there you have it.
And now, through December 1st, save hundreds on select Tempur-Pedic mattresses and adjustable bases. Change to Tempur-Pedic.
I was a child when we started to California. We were full of hope and did not dream of sorrow.
There's no other choice. We had to save ourselves. Lord, help us.
Dead of Winter, The Donner Party, a special 3-night event. Premieres next Friday at 9, only on the...
Life's busy, but you can stay connected to family and friends with Xfinity Voice. Create up to 4 additional phone numbers to enjoy unlimited nationwide talk and text, anywhere you go. Plus, with features like readable voicemail and caller ID across your smartphone, tablet, even TV, you'll never miss an important message. Life's busy, and the old phone company can't keep up. So switch and save with Xfinity Voice. Just $19.99 a month for 12 months. Call or go online today.
How long has it been since you've been to a dentist? Gum disease puts you at almost twice the risk for heart attacks and strokes. Preventing gum disease is achievable by daily brushing, flossing, and keeping regular dental visits. Ceda Dental is now offering new patients a cleaning and full exam with x-rays for only $69. Call 877-987-4321 to schedule your appointment. See the smile, see the difference. Ceda Dental.
Now, we're geeking out on what's happening in weather, how it happens, and why it's so freaking cool.
Weather Underground, weeknights at 6 on the Weather Channel. We know you have a morning routine. We have one too. 7 days a week, AMHQ is right here and weather ready.
Where's the rain that's happening right now as you walk out the door?
A lot of people traveling, but we'll keep an eye on it for you.
Because the weather impacts your day in 100 ways you see and 1,000 ways you don't.
I want to make sure everybody can get an idea of what's happening here.
So include us in your routine.
Let's get right to what you want, and that is the weather.
AMHQ, every morning starting at 5 on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, mixed clouds and sun with scattered thunderstorms. High 76. Chance of rain 50%. Tonight, partly cloudy, slight chance of a rain shower. Low 64. Winds north-northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday, except for a few afternoon clouds, mainly sunny. High 74. Winds north at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Okay, we are back on Weather Geeks, and look, I could not let one of the best seasonal weather forecasters in the world get away with not talking about what's going to happen this year. And I know one of the things is what's going on in October as far as snow cover. What's the Siberian snow cover looking like, and what are the implications in your mind for what we're looking at going forward?
Yeah, so the snow cover came in above normal. Not as high as the past 2 years, though.
Okay.
So it's high, but not in record territory like we've just seen the past few years. And so that, that tends to mean, so we're trying to anticipate a weaker polar vortex, maybe negative tendencies towards the negative Arctic oscillation, certainly some winter weather. But I don't think that's the only story this winter.
Well, and let's talk about the other part of the story. And we've seen NOAA and others put out the sort of typical wintertime forecast based on an El Nino pattern. Do you buy that, or?
Typically, I'm pretty quick to discount El Nino, especially when it comes to temperature, less so when it comes to precipitation. But this year, it's a big El Nino, and I think I would be foolish for me, even for me, to
so
just
it's such a strong El Nino
yes.
that you think it's going to be like a big rock in the pond rather than a little rock in the pond.
Yeah. I'm a little bit. I think that's why I'm curious to see what happens this winter. I think also we're in uncharted territory with the climate. So talking about just get a little bit of research. There's a lot of controversy going on right now about Typically, everybody thought the tropics is what's really important. That's the big driver, right? That's the dog waving the waving the tail, wagging the tail.
Wagging the tail.
And I myself, but other scientists have been saying, hey, the Arctic's important too, and there's been this huge changes in the Arctic, and we feel that's definitely influencing our weather. So, but the I don't know, your mainstream meteorologists would say, well, that's just the tail, and the tail isn't waving the dog. So I think it's a great year to look at, see what is the interaction between this Arctic change, the high snow cover, the low sea ice, and this very strong El Nino.
Right. And I know you mentioned earlier you have clients, and I know we're kind of in November now, so you're probably putting the finishing touches on your forecast for your clients. I'm going to try to extract some information out of you, but I understand from a business perspective you don't want to do that. But so what do you see then as the biggest risk in terms of a forecast bust for the winter?
I definitely think, the forecasts are pretty warm.
Right.
If you look at hemispherically, not just the U.S., they are very warm forecasts. I think it could very easily be colder than those forecasts hemispherically. I'm not going to get into details. In the U.S., I think there will be a bit of this, tightrope, tug of war, where exactly the warm air and the cold air are set up. I think that'll be very interesting to see, and I think that's something that I will be certainly trying to figure out and grappling with.
Now, in this last sort of minute or so, if you had a magic wand and you could sort of produce whatever you need to make dramatic improvements in seasonal forecasting, what do you as a seasonal forecaster need? Is it better observations, better models? What would you say to that?
I'll say both. We use a statistical model that's really based on observations. We can certainly use better observations in the Arctic. I can use better observation everywhere, but the Arctic is especially poorly
Talk quickly about, when you talk about these snow cover measurements in Siberia, what's being, I know we have things like SNOWTEL here in the U.S. What's being used?
So we only use satellites because we can't get it would be nice to get snow depth, and people are making inroads on that, but when we use it in the model, we just use the snow cover area.
So it is satellite-based product. Shout out to people like Dave Robinson at Rutgers. I know he's doing some of that.
We use his data. You're great. But we would love to use snow depth, and it's been very poorly sampled. So that would be a great improvement. We can get that. I think the models also, it'd be great to have better models. I mean, the models have made great improvements, but I think they do a poor job or poorer job in the high latitudes, the Arctic versus in the tropics.
Right.
And if they can, and if we can work on that to improve those regions, I think that would be a great improvement to forecast.
Now we're going to finish up right here, but quickly, where's your Twitter, or you got a website out there that people can take a look at my way, or a blog?
I have a blog that every week we talk about the AO, we talk about the forecast.
What's the address on it?
I don't know.
Well, just find it. Google Judah
Judah Cohen, Arctic Oscillation. And
we're going to have to end it right there. Okay. And thank you once again for joining us on Weather Geeks. Remember, you can find us on Twitter at WXGeeks, TWC, and we're also out there on Facebook. See you next week on Weather Geeks.
What if there was a bank that didn't just ask members to save, but also helped them to save? That allowed families to keep more of their money, letting them use any ATM nationwide for free. And because every dollar matters, didn't nickel and dime its members with monthly fees, saving them more than $345 million in 1 year. That would be a different kind of bank. That would be USAA Bank. Go online to find out more about our free USAA secure checking account today.
They may claim good performance, but typically cordless vacuums deliver weak suction. The issue originates here. To make their vacuum smaller, most others make their motor smaller and less powerful. But at Dyson, we've invented the small but powerful V6 digital motor, spinning at up to 110,000 RPM, giving our latest cordless vacuums twice the suction of all others.
Save up to 25% on select Dyson technology.
All we need to sell Strongbow Hard Cider is ice. Oh, and an award for best tasting hard cider. You're in our shot.
No, I'm not.
Strongbow!
Grilled chicken and Bush's baked beans.
Mom totally forgot to give us vegetables.
I know, it's awesome.
Booyah.
Bluita.
Bush's baked beans, slow cooked according to our secret family recipe with a hint of sweetness. They're the vegetable kids love.
They're totally eating their vegetables. Booyah.
Blow it up. Bush's baked beans, the veggie kids love. Try our newest flavor, Asian barbecue. Available for a limited time only.
My sister raves about her toothpaste and mouthwash all the time. I'm like, huh? Aren't they all the same?
You know, I had to see it for myself, so I went pro with Crest Pro Health Advanced.
Advanced to a healthier, stronger, cleaner mouth from day one.
This toothpaste and mouthwash make my whole mouth feel amazing and my teeth stronger.
Crest Pro Health Advanced is superior in these 5 areas dentists check.
This is gonna go well for sure.
Advanced to a healthier, stronger, cleaner mouth from day one.
Great checkup. My sister was right.
Awake! Intel's best processor is here, and it helps PCs wake up instantly, just like you did. That's great, but do you mind? No, I don't mind.
Introducing Intel's new 6th generation core processor. It's our best processor ever.
Coughing, sniffling, and wishing you could stay in bed all day. When your cold is this bad, you need new Theraflu Express Max. Theraflu Express Max combines maximum strength medicines available without a prescription to fight your worst cold and flu symptoms, so you can feel better fast and get back to the job at hand. New Theraflu Express Max, the power to feel better.
We know you have a morning routine. We have one too. 7 days a week, AMHQ is right here and weather ready.
Where's the rain that's happening right now as you walk out the door?
A lot of people traveling, but we'll keep an eye on it for you.
Because the weather impacts your day in 100 ways you see and 1,000 ways you don't.
I want to make sure everybody can get an idea of what's happening here.
So include us in your routine.
Let's get right to what you want, and that is the weather.
AMHQ, every morning starting at 5 on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, mixed clouds and sun with scattered thunderstorms. High 76. Chance of rain 50%. Tonight, partly cloudy. Monday, except for a few afternoon clouds, mainly sunny. High 74. Winds north at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
I'm Mike Bettis. That's Sarah. Welcome to the set of a brand new show, Weather Underground. We're bringing together some of the smartest weather minds in the business. There'll be experts, bloggers, uber weather geeks. Just look at these guys, geeking out on hardcore weather science on every screen you have 24 hours a day. And we're even letting you choose the topics. So it's like what's happening in weather, how it happens, and why it's so freaking cool.
Weather Underground, weeknights at 6 on the Weather Channel.
I was a child when we started to California. We were full of hope and did not dream of sorrow.
There's no other choice. We had to save ourselves. Lord help us.
Dead of Winter, The Donner Party, a special 3-night event, premieres next Friday at 9, only on the Weather Channel.
Spanish moss drapes seductively from the live oaks. Picturesque saltwater marshes, majestic, enchanting. Everything seems so serene. But there's more to Paris Island than first meets the eye.
Oh, let's get it busted right now!
You'll hear a lot of yelling.
Move fast! Move fast! What? Awesome.
We call that motivation.
When this recruit first got here and got off the bus, it was a whole new world. It was dark. Things are strange. You're just completely shocked.
They arrive as wide-eyed raw recruits. They train in oppressive conditions.
He told us in a letter that he thinks that Paris Island was heated by the flames of hell.
Withstand extreme physical challenges. They are held to the highest standards and expected to forever live by a code. Honor, courage, commitment. They'll need all of that and more to pass a final test of endurance called the Crucible and earn the right to be called United States Marine.
Dismiss!
I'm meteorologist Jim Cantore. I've made a career of being in the middle of storms, and I love it. But there's more to weather than storms. Some people live where they have to deal with harsh or unusual conditions on a daily basis. On Cantore Stories, we'll take you to these places. You'll meet the people that call them home, and we'll immerse you in their culture. On this episode, Paris Island, where Marines are made.
Well, the Marine Corps in its wisdom chose exactly the right location to hold recruit training. And in the summer, we have heat and humidity that would challenge anybody. That's compounded by the wildlife known as insects like sand fleas. So really, we have a combination that only a sadist could create.
When I first arrived to Paris Island, this crew was ready to step off the island the next day. Time was moving very slow, sir. Paris Island's made up some of the longest days and some of the fastest weeks.
Paris Island is located in the southern coast of South Carolina. We're very, very close to the border of Georgia. It's a coastal town, so we have a lot of wind coming in off of the water, which means a lot of humidity.
The weather can only be described as Paris Island weather.
We'll be soaked with sweat from 04 in the morning till 2000 every day.
The sun, the humidity, it can get really intense, really fast.
It's just after 2 a.m., and these recruits have begun the Crucible, the culmination of 13 weeks of rigorous training and the rite of passage for every Marine. It's a physically and mentally challenging period of 54 hours with little food and little sleep.
The Crucible is the pinnacle of recruit training. It's a culminating event where they can apply everything that they learned throughout boot camp in just 54 hours.
Well, the Crucible in itself is designed to be mentally and physically tough. And the heat is just a bonus point.
When they're carrying all of this gear, the sun is beating down and the humidity is hitting them even before the sun comes up. They're really going to have to dig down deep just to get through this.
These recruits are only 7 hours into the crucible. It's hot. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, already about 90 degrees. The humidity off the charts. And there's another 47 hours of stuff like this to go.
Event 4 is probably one of the most excruciating, most painful events. They really put on the wartime scenario.
Incoming! Move!
What if somebody goes down and you're attacking the beach? And what if somebody goes down and you have to drag him? He's bleeding. You can't lift up. You can't get up and run. There's no cornering around. It really puts that real world, real-time scenario into them.
Squad leaders, get them moving!
In this event, the 12-man team negotiates a combat assault course that includes culverts, walls, barbed wire, and sand. Let's go to that last mission you were on. I mean, you're pouring sweat. Or you're eating dirt. What was it like going through that?
It was rough because we took some casualties, so we had to carry dead weight.
What's it like having to pick up another soldier and get him through that?
It was pretty intense. My buddy at that point had got shot, so I had to pick him up and just carry him through the rest of the course like in real life.
Put him down easy now.
That's just how it is. We don't leave a Marine behind. We never leave a Marine behind, no matter what. It's chaotic. Somebody goes down, you gotta pick up their slack, and to work together like that, you have to really buckle down. We each had 3 different rifles that weren't ours, so we kept getting stuck in the barbed wire. And trying to push the ammo cans in that sand, they don't go anywhere. So that made it 10 times harder.